end Nancy Pelosi's reign as Speaker once and for all. Folks, for the first time in our nation's history, Democrats control everything in Washington, Albany, and New York City. And they have created a mess. A 41-year record high on inflation, surging crime, skyrocketing gas prices and home heating costs, a porous southern border with not only a massive inflow of illegal immigration, but drugs coming into our communities, killing 300 Americans a day. And they are calling the Department of Justice, calling parents who are concerned about their children's education domestic terrorists. It has to stop. And in 8 days, everyone here in Westchester County, in Rockland, Putnam, and Dutchess, and here in New York State, have the opportunity to send a message nationwide that enough is enough and we're not going to take it anymore. This is not about being a Republican. It's not about being a Democrat. It's not about being an independent. This is about our families and our future. We all want a good-paying job to provide for our families. We all want our children to have a quality education. We all want access to housing and health care, and we all want to live in safe neighborhoods. That's what this election is about, and that's why in 8 days' time, we are going to make history by electing Lee Zeldin, our next governor, by having a Republican in Congress from the lower Hudson Valley for the first time in over a decade, and by ending one-party rule nationwide, including ending Nancy Pelosi's reign as Speaker. So you got 8 days left to do everything you can to make sure that our entire ticket, up and down ballot, wins. You got to get out and vote. Early voting is underway. Election day is Tuesday, November 8th. Don't leave anything on the table. Not a single vote can be left at home. Make sure you do everything you can in your power to help this ticket. Knock on doors, make phone calls. Don't let them win, because if they do, they will double down on stupid. So, folks, let's go win, let's go make history, and thank you very much for all of your support. God bless the United States of America. God bless New York. Let's go win.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome candidate for New York State Attorney General, Michael Henry.
Going to dismiss Tish James. Now, recently, two Trafalgar polls have me with a slim lead over Letitia James. And we are on the verge of taking New York from blue to red. But it's on every one of us to tell our friends, our family, our neighbors, message old friends on Facebook. Because I promise you this, Letitia James is the most political attorney general in the country, and all that matters is her political ambitions. I'm not a politician. I'm one of you. And all that matters to me is to represent all of you and make the Attorney General's office responsive to your needs and your family's needs.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, yeah, that's, yeah, if you, B-roll, SOT, Hochul, and then the press conference. And B-roll. Yep, and no side. Yeah. Okay.
Recently, Letitia James, who actually supported Cash's bail in 2018 when she ran for Attorney General, she got what she wanted and it failed, and now she said she needs to see more data before she'd revisit any changes. And quite frankly, that's a despicable mindset for the chief law enforcement officer of a state to have. Because more data means more victims. And I see the news cameras here. So if Tish is watching, the Attorney General is watching, we could discuss the data November 2nd, 7 p.m. on New York 1. Stop ducking the debate. You've never been camera shy. It's time for you to answer to your failed record. You owe it to the people of this state. Stop ducking the debate. I'll be there. I'll debate an empty podium if you don't show up, and it's going to be very embarrassing. We are going to work to repeal cashless bail. We are going to work in conjunction with local district attorneys to get this crime crisis under control. We are going to treat pay-to-play corruption like the crime that it is, because this audience should not be subsidizing the re-election campaign of Kathy Hochul. And we are going to cut the bureaucracy in the Attorney General's office, streamline this office, make it coordinated and responsive to the needs of the citizens of this state. Now, you gave us our last Republican governor, Westchester, and my father's also from Westchester. He was a police officer in Mount Vernon. Westchester, we need your help to get us across the finish line. But this is about the ticket from the top down. Lee Zeldin, Michael Henry, Allison Esposito, Joe Pinion, Paul Rodriguez, Michael Lawler, Mark Molinaro, all the candidates for local office. Let's show the rest of the country that New York is going to set the precedent that when you forget about the people that you represent.
Yeah, hey Neil, we're in Westchester County, Thornwood, just north of New York City, middle class, upper middle class community, and as you can hear behind me, Congressman Lee Zeldin about to take the stage here at this rally in Thornwood. The Lieutenant Governor, his running mate, now taking the stage, and the ticket getting some help from down south. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin also campaigning with the ticket here today, just as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis did in Long Island over this weekend. Zeldin hopes to replicate the policies of both those governors in their states on taxes, quality of life, and crime. Crime has been an overwhelming issue in this campaign. Zeldin hammering incumbent Governor Hochul on the issue of crime. Yesterday I interviewed Zeldin, and he told me that the incumbent governor just does not get it.
Are you ready to make history? Are you ready to save our state? So, there was a debate, and the present governor asked a very important question. Why does this mean so much to us?
Governor Hochul campaigned with First Lady Joe Biden just 8 miles away from where we are right now. At that event, she called crime a, quote, conspiracy that she says is being propagated by the media and Republicans. She says crime isn't really as bad as people think it is, despite horrifying incidents. Ms. Hochul just wrapped up a news conference with the gun safety group Moms Demand Action, pressing for new gun laws, and she criticizes Zeldin's gun policies.
Why does it mean so much to us? Because our brave men and women in law enforcement are going out every day, interacting with some of the most violent criminals, removing loaded illegal firearms off their waistbands, sometimes 2, 3,
Well, Zeldin has been gaining a lot of traction against the incumbent governor. See this campaign sign, Neil? Pretty typical, you know, Zeldin governor. Well, look what's on the back. It's Pataki for governor, 1994. Those here hoping that Mr. Zeldin replicate Mr. Pataki because he was able to knock off the iconic Democratic governor, Mario Cuomo, back in 1994, and they certainly hope that Mr. Zeldin can do the very same thing next Tuesday. Back to you.
We don't feel it when we're walking out on the streets. We don't feel it when we're afraid to let our children play in the neighborhood park. We don't feel it when we're on mass transit in New York City, where subway crimes are up more than 40% and homicides are at an all-time high. It's just the perception. Your fear isn't real. Look at the bright, shiny object up here. Government hasn't failed to protect you. Government hasn't overtaxed you. Government hasn't overregulated you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that the silent majority is awake and standing up for our state. We are coming for our state on November. Under the Zeldin Esposito administration, we will unapologetically back the blue. We will fire reckless and dangerous district attorneys like Manhattan's Alvin Bragg, who refuse to prosecute crime. And that will send the shockwave through the rest of the district attorneys in the state who might want to follow suit. If you don't want to do your job, you're gone. You're gone. And our heroes, 7 o'clock every night we opened up our windows, right? We banged pots and pans, and we screamed and we yelled for our nurses, our doctors, our healthcare workers, our cops, our firefighters, our essential workers. Remember, the government decided which one of us were essential and which ones weren't. Which ones could put food on our table and which ones couldn't. But for our heroes, we screamed and yelled, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." They worked all the way through the pandemic. They put themselves on the line. They put their families on the line, not knowing what they were in store for. And then when they made the very personal decision not to take a vaccine, we fired them. Ladies and gentlemen, they need their jobs back and with back pay. You and you alone as parents have the ability to decide what's best for you, your family, and your children. You should be as involved as possible in your children's education, and we need to set our kids up for success in New York State. Whether it's private school, public school, charter school, homeschool, we owe our children better. They are the leaders of the next generation, and we need to set them up, no matter where they live, for greatness. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can talk to you about policy all day. I can talk to you that New York should be energy independent. We should be bringing back jobs and industry. We should be rolling back regulations and taxes. But right now, what I have to talk to you about is the silent majority being awake. What I have to talk to you about is this not being a red wave. This is a common sense wave. This is a red, white, and blue wave. This is Republicans, this is Democrats, this is independents, and this is people who have never voted before standing up and saying enough is enough. We want our state back, and we want our country back. But we have forgotten in New York State that voting is not just a right. This is a responsibility. It's a duty. It's an obligation. And in 8 days, we need to make our voices heard. So I need your help. We all need your help, up and down the ticket. The common sense wave is coming, but only if we do everything we can between now and November 8th. I need you to talk to friends, to family, to colleagues, to coworkers, to Sally down the block that you don't care for. And we need to get every single person out to vote. Every single person to stand up, to join us in this common sense wave. Because we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and they forgot that. They work for us. There is no ruling elite in this country. And it's about time we make that known. I believe we can do this. I believe that New Yorkers are awake. I believe that they are sick of it. What we allow will continue, and New York State will no longer allow the ruling elite to dictate the day-to-day business of our lives. So this is fantastic. This energy is amazing, and I can't thank you enough for coming out to support Lee Zeldin and everyone up and down the ticket. Lee is the right guy. He's the right guy at the right time. I never would have walked away from my beloved NYPD or the thousands of men and women I was blessed to serve with if I didn't believe that his integrity was beyond reproach. If I didn't believe that he had the vision to bring New York State back to glory. If I didn't believe in him, and I've gotten to know him, not as the congressman, but Lee as the man, the father, the family man. He has the compassion to put people before power. And he will absolutely do it. So I need you to get riled up. I need you to get excited. We are changing our state. We are changing our government. We are bringing common sense back to New York. We are going to do this, and we will do it together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome New York's own Governor George Pataki.
Here I am again in the city with a fistful of dollars. And baby, you better believe I'm back.
Hello, Westchester. What a great crowd. Any of you old enough to remember 1994? There was this little-known guy from just up the road in Peekskill, New York, running against one of the most iconic Democrats in the country. And he had the gall to run as a Republican conservative in the state of New York. What was he thinking? I'll tell you what I was thinking. New York needed to change, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking today. New York needs to change again, and we need to have another victory. We need another victory like 1994. You know, when I ran in 94, I thought I was going to win because I talked to people across the state, and I knew that Republicans thought we were headed in the wrong direction. Independents thought we were headed in the wrong direction. Democrats thought we were headed in the wrong direction. And I talked to people across the state today. And you know what I'm hearing? Republicans say New York is headed in the wrong direction. Independents say New York is headed in the wrong direction. Democrats say New York is headed in the wrong direction. And there is one solution to get it back headed in the right direction, and that's to elect Lee Zeldin as the next governor of the state of New York. You know, when I ran, New York was #1 in the country in violent crime. When I left, we were the safest big state in America. Today, crime in New York is out of control. It is not because of a failure of the people. It's because of a failure in Albany. Let me tell you, like I changed the criminal justice laws, Lee Zeldin is going to get rid of the no bail law. Lee Zeldin is going to get rid of the law that lets a 17-year-old murderer be treated as a child. Lee Zeldin is going to get rid of district attorneys who refuse to uphold the law and violate their oath of office. Lee Zeldin is going to make New York again the safest big state in America. And when I ran, we were first in taxes and last in jobs. And today, we are first in people leaving this state. And companies every day say we can't compete and exist in New York. Lee Zeldin is going to change that and bring New York's economy back so our children and our grandchildren want to live right here in Westchester and not in Florida or Texas. You know, the night of November 8th, 1994, when we saw the results come in, and this guy Pataki had won, I could see the commentators choking on their microphones. How did this possibly happen? Do you know when Election Day is this year? November 8th, the same day. And with your help, with your energy, with your support for Lee Zeldin, from Republicans, Independents, Democrats, from left to right, understanding we need to change this state, we're going to see November 8th, around 10 o'clock, those same commentators choking on their mic when they go, my God, Lee Zeldin is the next governor of New York State. And we'll all have big smiles because we'll be able to say the best of New York is ahead of us with Lee Zeldin as governor. Thank you. God bless you. Work hard. We're going to win this race. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your next governor, Lee Zeldin.
Westchester! Is Westchester ready to fire Kathy Hochul? Is Westchester ready to save our state? I love this fired up crowd. How about those Pataki 1994 signs? Let me see those. You know, our state was at a crossroads. It was 28 years ago. And it was an important moment for us to do everything in our power then. And think of how different things would have gone if not for the people of New York stepping up, taking control of their future and their destiny. It might have been the last time that we were just 8 days away from an opportunity to take control of your family's future, to change the trajectory of the state, to restore balance and common sense back to Albany, to make sure that those attacks on your wallets and your safety and your freedom and the quality of our kids' education can be reversed. It's up to all of us to do everything in our power with just 8 days to go, taking nothing at all for granted. These opportunities don't come by often. And sometimes when you feel like maybe, hopefully, you're 2 or 3 years away from that next chance, and then it comes and goes. And it's still just more of the same. Under one-party rule up in Albany, the lack of balance has resulted in laws like cashless bail getting passed and other pro-criminal laws. There's a tolerance for district attorneys who refuse to enforce the law. There are attacks on our men and women in law enforcement. Taxes go up, spending goes up. They look at your freedom as if a transaction with the government with your freedom is one where the government is taking it away, but the only way that we should be engaging in a transaction with government with your freedom is for you to be getting more of your freedoms back, not the other way around. This is about when you get money back from the government. Government understands it was your money in the first place. Don't demand, don't expect a thank you. Right now we have a governor who has referred to all of us as her apostles. I promise you that at no point will I ever refer to you as my apostle. We have a governor right now who she refers to herself as the mother of New York's 62 counties. I promise you that at no point will you ever hear me refer to myself as the father of New York's 62 counties. It won't happen. This is about all of you taking control of your government again. You don't want to be ruled by an emperor governor. Kathy Hochul wasn't even elected governor. She was elected lieutenant governor, and she's filling the remainder of someone else's term. It's important to stay humble and grounded. I'm running to be the governor for all New Yorkers, Republicans and Democrats and independents. And this isn't about Republicans versus Democrats. This is about all of us together, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, uniting as New Yorkers to save our state. But Kathy Hochul doesn't feel that way. In August, she declared that I was no longer a New Yorker. She demanded that I get on a bus and move to Florida. Now, the next day, I kind of took her advice a little bit. I got in my car and I went to Florida, New York. I was endorsed by the mayor of Florida, New York, and we campaigned together. But I'm not going anywhere, and you're not going anywhere. We are staying and fighting for our state. And listen, I'm not here to say that Kathy Hochul's not a New Yorker. And I'm not here to demand that she get on a bus and leave the state. I'm just saying that she needs to get out of the governor's mansion. And you all have that power to reverse those attacks. See, New York leads the entire country in out-migration. And we want to be able to proudly say that we live in the greatest state, in the greatest country, in the history of the world. And for us to be able to do that, we have to have a good response with our family and friends in other states. See, right now, they say, well, you claim that you live in the greatest state, but your state leads the entire country in population loss. And that's true. We have to reverse that. So I did an interview on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo a couple Sundays ago. And she asked me what I was going to try to accomplish in the first 100 days. And my thought as soon as I heard that question is, honestly, this is about what we can accomplish in the first 100 minutes. We can't waste any time. And I've made a pledge. I've told people that, listen, in New York State, we do not have recall elections. And we have a problem when district attorneys release violent criminals to roam free. We have a problem with soaring crime. We want DAs to understand that that stands for district attorney, not defense attorney. So the first thing that I am going to do, the first day that I'm in office, is turning the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, to tell him that he's being fired. And by the way, there is a crime emergency going on right now in this state. Even though Kathy Hochul says there's nothing to see here, look away. She says that we're data deniers. Well, go ask the family of Connie Torrey, who lost their 93-year-old grandmother because of someone who was released due to cashless bail. There are many people across this state who will share stories like 2 Mexican cartel drug smugglers busted with $1.2 million worth of crystal meth and instantly released on cashless bail. We had a guy at the McDonald's on Delancey Street in Lower Manhattan who pulled an axe out of his backpack and started swinging it wildly at tables and at walls and at customers, and instantly released back out on the street on cashless bail. Not too far from here in the Bronx, Jesus Cortez was knocked into a coma. The person who did that was out on parole, a convicted sex offender. He put on a glove, and this wasn't like any regular glove. This glove was a weapon. And the NYPD looked at the video, and they charged attempted murder. But then the Bronx district attorney reduced it to misdemeanor assault and harassment, and then, while Jesus Cortez was laying in a bed in a coma, the person who punched him deliberately, with clear intent, was able to walk free under New York's cashless bail law. A woman in a Howard Beach subway station ends up getting attacked by a guy who had once killed his own grandparent, violates his parole this past August. But what was reported was that the reason why that person wasn't violated, detained by his parole officer, was because of the Less is More Act. We hear stories about, because of Raise the Age, that you have teenagers being used to commit crime after crime after crime after crime. We hear in our prisons that because of the HALT Act, which went into effect on April 1st, that attacks on our correctional officers and our other prison staff and even inmates have gone up. Well, we should have zero tolerance for this crime. Kathy Hochul says that she doesn't understand why it is so important to me that we lock up criminals. And when she says that she doesn't understand why this is so important to me, she is saying that she does not understand why this is so important to all of you. On day one, I will declare a crime emergency here in the state of New York. And I will suspend New York's cashless bail law and these other pro-criminal laws to force the state legislature to come to the table to fix this. And I also believe, by the way, that that every last COVID vaccine mandate that we can get rid of here in the state of New York should be gone. There should be no COVID vaccine mandate to work, no COVID vaccine mandate to be able to go to your higher ed class. And I would absolutely veto in a heartbeat any legislation that wants to mandate the COVID vaccine for our kids. I'll tell you what else we'll do on day one. A parent has a fundamental right to control the upbringing of their child, and they do not relinquish that right to the government by sending their kids off to school. That will be the policy of New York State. We have a lot to accomplish. And we are right here in a congressional district. We are in a congressional district where you have an opportunity to help flip balance of power here in the House of Representatives by electing Mike Lawler as your next congressman. And you can tell your friends in New York 18 to vote for Army veteran Colin Schmidt. Tell your friends in New York 19 to elect another special guest we have here today, Marcus Molinaro. And now, all these great candidates running for state legislative seats in Congress, all over the map, we have an opportunity to restore balance. Now, I have a question for this crowd. And listen, pay close attention, because I don't want to accidentally trick you. How does this crowd think about changing Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer How would you all like to turn Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer into Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer? No. Hey, Joe, come up here for a second. How many of you are ready to turn Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer into former Senator Chuck Schumer and elect Joe Pinion as the next senator here in the great state of New York? Joe, say a quick hello.
So some of you may have seen a debate last night. I've heard a rumor there's a bolo out there, elder abuse. A warrant has been issued. But I'll say this. We heard from the Senate Majority Leader's mouth. He wants to pack the Supreme Court. He wants to mandate the jab for your children. He wants to make sure that he can lower your electric bill 30 years from now. He's been there for 42 years. We certainly cannot afford 6 more. And so that's why we're going to send Lee Zeldin to the governor's mansion. That's why we are here to ensure that after 24 years in the Senate, 42 years in Congress, we can send this geriatric dinosaur to the retirement home of politics once and for all. So as I say always, we've got what I've now called a 3-for-1 sale. We get to fire Kathy Hochul, we get to dismiss Tish, and we get to retire Charles Ellis Schumer. But it's a one-day sale. So you guys got to be there and be there quick. God bless you all. Make sure you spread the word. Charles Schumer has seen his last days in D.C., and Lee Zeldin is going to shock the world on November 8th.
Joe Pinion, everybody. All right, so this is our opportunity here in 8 days, doing our little part in this corner of America to make sure that when we are all tuning into C-SPAN at the beginning of January, that we will get to watch the gavel permanently coming out of the hands of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We want to restore balance to Washington, and we have a great opportunity to restore balance here in New York. And there was a big race that took place last year. All eyes were on Virginia. They said that the race could not be won. And a man of principle stepped up. He was fighting for parents. He was fighting for taxpayers. He was fighting for freedom. His state was at a crossroads. And he was not going to let, and his constituents, his voters, were not going to let that opportunity pass them by. He did what many said was impossible. We are going to do what many said was impossible. Just like 28 years ago, when New York stepped up to elect a great governor in George Pataki, here we are at our moment, November 8th of 2022, where we will do everything in our power, taking nothing for granted, telling friends and family and neighbors and strangers and coworkers, being active on social media and emails and texts and word of mouth. Early voting is now open. We have to get our vote out. No one can stay at home. And on election night, Tuesday, November 8th, you all will be able to listen to, you all will be able to watch a concession speech of soon-to-be former Governor Kathy Hochul. And a man who has inspired so many parents here in Westchester County. A man who has inspired so many people fighting for freedom and good government, sane government. He's been a great leader who's kept to his word. And we're honored to have him today as a very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big New York welcome to the Governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. Can you feel what's happening? You can feel it. The momentum is building like they can't believe. You can see them all of a sudden go from cocky to scared. It happens just like that. Because it's just like a race. It's like a NASCAR race. You know, you got Kathy Hochul kind of bumping along the final term, and here comes Lee Zeldin on the outside. And you know what happens is you got to scrape a little paint there on the outside, and that's all they know to do. Lee's got no problem with that because he is racing to the finish to be your next governor. You know, friends, when I was flying up here today, I was thinking about all the great things that make New York great. And it is a long list. But I have to tell you, the stuff that really, really goes to the top is the fact that New York's where you go to make it. It's where you go to make it, whether it's the Bronx or whether it's upstate New York. By folks, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That is the spirit of New York. By the way, that's the spirit of America. That's the spirit of Virginia. That's what holds us all together is it's the land of opportunity, and right here's the heart of it in New York. But you see what's happening. What's happening is the liberal progressive Democrats are trying to squash that spirit. They're trying to take it away from us. That's what they're trying to do. Folks, it can happen like that. It can happen like that. I watched it in my beloved Virginia. It happened like that. Here, go on a walk with me. Go on a walk with me. Just a few years ago,
Virginia was locked tight during the pandemic. Businesses were shut, schools were shut, people were told to stay in their house. Does that sound familiar, New York? By the way, small businesses were closed. In Bristol, Virginia, all the businesses were shut. Right across the street in Bristol, Tennessee, they were open having a party. People were told to stay home from work and paid to be there by the government. Sound familiar, New York? By the way, we had leaders who stood up for criminals, not victims. Sound familiar, New York? We had a parole board that was criminal friendly, not victim friendly, and let them all out. They actually wanted to wave the magic wand and set them free. Sound familiar, New York? We had more people moving away from Virginia than moving to Virginia from the other 49 states. Sound familiar, New York? And parents in Virginia were told that their kids watching a 14-inch screen was a quality education, and that those parents had no right to have a say in their kids' life. Sound familiar, New York? Friends, that spirit of New York, that spirit of Virginia can be squashed like that. And that's what the progressive Democrats want to do. That's what they want to do. Listen, you know these answers. I mean, do you want a law enforcement philosophy that is criminal first and victim last? Kathy Hochul does. Do you want law enforcement that's demeaned and demoralized? No, Kathy Hochul does. Do you want your already high taxes to go even higher? Kathy Hochul does. Do you want politics to be taught in your classroom so that your children are taught what to think versus how to think? Kathy Hochul does. You know it. You know it. And here we stand today at a moment just like I was in last year, where 5 months ago, 6 months ago, all those smart pundits said, well, a Democrat can't win in New York. That's exactly what a Republican can't win in New York. That's exactly what a Democrat can't win in New York. You know that? Said a Republican can't win in New York, and that's exactly what they said in Virginia last year. They said, no Republican can win for governor in Virginia. They said the suburbs are too blue. The media's too strong. They forgot to do one thing, ask the voters. That's what they forgot to do. Virginia, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness was breathed into our country. Too blue for Republican governor? No way. We won the Hispanic vote. We won the Asian vote. We won more of the black vote anybody's ever seen. We run cities that Republicans had never won. Why? Because we came together in a way and stood up and said no. And it's New York's turn to say no. It's your turn. I'm here to pass the baton to Lee Zeldin for him to finish and become your next governor. Do you know how exciting it's going to be? You all on November the 8th are going to watch something happen that's going to send a shockwave around the world. A shockwave when all of a sudden you all recognize that your 58th governor is going to be Lee Zeldin. That's what's going to happen. But it's up to all of you, and it's a really clear choice. I mean, you got Kathy Hochul on this side. On this side, I'm right, not left. On this side, you got Lee Zeldin. You guys know him, but let me just tell you about him. He's homegrown right here in New York. He knows how to fight for his country. By the way, he jumped out of too many perfectly good airplanes. He came back to New York and he served New Yorkers in the state Senate. He served them in Washington. He understands that government is for the people. He understands this. This is a clear choice. And on the other side, we've got Kathy Hochul. We have got Joe Biden. Friends, it is our time to recognize that they are agents of chaos. Everything they touch, they make worse. We have lawlessness. What do? They ask a very basic question. Why is it so important to you? Well, I'm going to tell you, Lee Zeldin understands why it's so important. He understands that you actually have to back the blue. He understands that you have to have DAs who will prosecute. And he understands that it is time to eliminate forever cashless bail. Folks, it's real simple. You want to take care of crime, you got to put more badges on the street. It's that simple. And you got to back them. They got to know that their governor has their back. And Lee Zeldin is going to have their back because they have ours. Friends, you got Kathy and Joe who see runaway inflation, and the first thing they do is pass bills to spend more and throw a garden party. We got Kathy and Joe who sit there and look at our schools failing, and what do they want to do? Push parents out and lock them out of their kids' life. Well, I'm going to tell you what, Lee Zeldin understands that parents matter. That's what he understands. At the end of the day, this is about liberty and freedom. We know that. It's about liberty and freedom, and I have to say that in Virginia, we know a little bit about liberty and freedom. Listen, the most immortal words ever written in this hemisphere were written by a Virginian, and you know them. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Friends, these are not rights that are granted to us by a king. These are not rights that are handed down to us by elites in Albany or in Richmond or in Washington. These are rights that are granted to us by God Almighty. And they are ours to defend. So come on, New York, it's time to lock arms and defend them. We have got to get Lee Zeldin elected governor. And you all know how to do this. The work starts right now. You have 8 days. 8 days. Early voting's happening. You got to get out to the polls. Friends, listen, here's rule number 1. Each one of you's got to be responsible for 10 friends. 10 friends that aren't here. And by the way, 10 friends are going to vote the right way. Your job's to write down their name, call them, and say, hey, have you voted yet? And if they say no, say, we'll vote tomorrow. And then call them the next day. And if they say, have you voted yet? And they say no, go pick them up in your car and take them to vote. You got to get the vote out. You get the vote out, you win. Folks, there should be a sign in every yard, a hat on every head, a bumper sticker on every car. Shucks, you might as well all put on red vests. You can do this. We proved it last year. You lock arms and you get this done because elections have consequences. And the consequences for not electing Lee Zeldin will be dire in New York. And you know it. Folks, the winning team is the winning team. And we are on the team that believes in safe communities. We are on the team that believes in strong families. We are on the team that believes in low taxes, small business, American-made products. We are on the team that believes in peace through strength, not weakness through weakness. We are on the team that believes in liberty and freedom and the unbridled opportunities that come for everyone when we lift them up. We are on the team that believes that parents matter. This is your moment. It's a movement, folks. This is not just an election, it is a movement. It's a movement that's been brought together by the spirit of New York. It's a movement that's been brought together by your shared belief in these common principles, this common commitment to grit, this common commitment to deliver, this common commitment to God and country, this common commitment to elect Lee Zeldin, the 58th governor of New York. Let's get this done. God bless you. God bless New York.
Take care. I don't know what you're doing. I just figure we're getting some B-roll. Yeah. Pardon.